They are the kings of the road, clad in leather and steel. Their bikes are thrones, and the patches on their backs are crowns. But beneath the roar of engines lies a war that has raged for half a century. This isn't just a turf war, it's a battle for the soul of criminal America. Hell's Angels versus the Outlaws. Today we'll reveal how it all began, who pulls the strings in this game, and why the next victim could even be you. Watch until the end, and you will learn the secret rule the Angels broke that cost them hundreds of lives. To understand the scale of this war, we must go back to the mid-20th century. America was healing after World War II. Young men, back from the front, couldn't find their place in a quiet, peaceful life. The adrenaline of war, the brotherhood, the risk, it was all gone. So they created their own world, a world where you are the law. This is how the Hells Angels were born in California in 1948, and even earlier, in 1935 near Chicago, the Outlaws Motorcycle Club. At first, they were just clubs for enthusiasts. Guys rode their bikes, drank beer, and looked for adventure. But everything changed when the American Motorcyclist Association stated that 99% of bikers were law-abiding citizens. The Angels and the Outlaws proudly accepted the challenge. They stitched the 1% patch onto their vests and declared themselves those who live outside the law. They became outcasts, and they loved it. For a long time, they existed in parallel. The Angels were taking over the West Coast, while the Outlaws held the Midwest and Florida with an iron grip. They were predators hunting in different territories. But their appetites grew. Each wanted to be the sole king of the road, and all they needed for war was a reason. A small spark to ignite a hellish flame, and that spark flared up in the late 60s.
Legend says it all started over a woman. A member of the Hells Angels allegedly assaulted the girlfriend of an outlaw. Another version tells of a dispute at a bike show in Florida that ended with a brutal beating of an angel. The truth has been erased by decades of blood and vengeance, but the fact remains, an unwritten code was broken, and the Outlaws struck back. They accepted the sworn enemies of the Angels into their ranks and declared war. A biker war is not a Hollywood action movie. It's a dirty, brutal, and vicious reality. There are no rules. Bar bombings, stoplight shootings, kidnappings, and torture. Their motto? God forgives, outlaws don't. In response, the Angels created their own slogan, Angels Forever, Forever Angels. They began hunting each other, and it wasn't just revenge, it was business. Millions of dollars from arms trafficking, drugs, and racketeering were at stake. Every club is a strict hierarchy, like a mafia family. At the top is the president. His word is law. Below him are the vice president, treasurer, and sergeant-at-arms, who is in charge of the muscle. To become a full-fledged member, a prospect must go through hell. He does the dirtiest jobs, risking his freedom and his life. He must prove his loyalty, not with words, but with blood. Often the price of this test is the murder of a member of an enemy club. The legend of the Angels was Sonny Barger, the man who turned a beer-drinking club into a global criminal empire. He was tough, charismatic, and knew no fear. He personally led his men into battle and built alliances with the mafia. Cops feared him, enemies respected him. Sonny made the Hells Angels a global brand, a brand washed in blood.
The Outlaws had their own Dark Knight, Harry Taco Bowman, a cold-blooded and calculating killer who took over the club in the 80s. Under his rule, the war reached its peak. Taco didn't just kill his enemies, he erased them from the face of the earth. The FBI placed a huge bounty on his head, and for several years, he was on the list of the 10 most wanted fugitives in America, standing alongside Osama bin Laden. That shows the level of the threat. One of the most gruesome episodes of this war took place in Florida. The Angels decided to open a chapter on Outlaws territory. This was tantamount to declaring nuclear war. Taco Bowman gave the order, "Destroy." At night, Outlaws fighters broke into the home of an Angel. They didn't just kill him, they staged a public execution, sending a message to everyone else: "We rule Florida." Since then, the state has been called bloody because of the biker wars. But the war wasn't limited to America. The clubs began opening chapters all over the world, in Europe, Canada, and Australia. And wherever their paths crossed, a massacre began. In Canada, this erupted into the Great Nordic Biker War, which claimed over 150 lives. Cars exploded, innocent people died, even children. The authorities had to bring in the army to stop the terror. Each club has its own symbols and secret signs. The Angels have the Death's Head. The Outlaws have a skull with crossed pistons named Charlie. But there are other patches. For example, the Filthy Few for the Angels, or SS for the Outlaws, are earned by those who have committed murder for the club. It's the highest honor, a sign that you are elite. You are a true monster, ready to do anything for your brotherhood.
Outlaws bikers wear the acronym ADIOS on their vests, which stands for Angels Die in Outlaw States. This is not just a threat, it's a promise. Every angel who enters their territory becomes a living target. In response, the Angels began using their own codes, showing that their enemies would be destroyed. The war moved to a symbolic level and became even more brutal. The FBI and police have been trying to dismantle these gangs for decades. They infiltrate them with agents, conduct raids, and imprison leaders. But for every fallen soldier, 2 new ones take his place. The clubs are like a hydra. You cut off one head, and 2 more grow. Because it's not just a gang, it's an idea of freedom, brotherhood, and a life without rules. And for that idea, young men are still willing to die today. Undercover agents who managed to infiltrate the gangs told horrifying stories. To become one of them, they had to participate in beatings, deal drugs, and witness murders. One agent, who lived with the club for 2 years, confessed, "At some point, I started to forget who I was. Their world sucks you in. You feel the power, the impunity, and you start to understand why they're willing to die for it. Look at their faces. These are not actors. These are real people whose hands are stained with blood. Each one has either killed or been on the verge of death. They live one day at a time because they know tomorrow may not come. Their bike is all they have. Their club is their only family. And for that family, they will tear apart anyone who stands in their way. This devotion is what makes them so dangerous."
So why has this war lasted so long? Because it has become a tradition. The new generation of bikers absorbs hatred for the enemy from birth. For them, killing an angel or an outlaw is not a crime, but a sacred duty. It's a way to prove their loyalty, to earn respect. Hatred has become the foundation of their ideology. And as long as even one angel and one outlaw are alive, this war will not end. This war is not just a criminal showdown. It is a reflection of the dark side of the American dream, the dream of total freedom. But freedom without limits turns into chaos and violence. The angels and the outlaws are monsters created by society itself.
a society in which they could not find a place. So they built their own, with blackjack and blood. Today, the war continues, but it has changed. It's less visible, but more insidious. There are no more mass shootouts. Now it's about surgical strikes, murders disguised as accidents, business conflicts resolved with a knife and a pistol. They have learned to operate more quietly, and that has made them even more dangerous. They are near, even if you don't see them. So who will be the next victim? It could be a young prospect trying to earn his patch. It could be an old veteran targeted for the sins of his past. Or it could be an innocent bystander who is in the wrong place at the wrong time. In this war, no one is untouchable. The bullet fired half a century ago is still flying, and no one knows who it will hit.
And this brings us to the secret rule that the Angels broke. In the very beginning, when the clubs were just brotherhoods, there was an unwritten law. You don't touch the family and the home. You could fight to the death on the road, in a bar, anywhere. But home and family were sacred. The Angels, drunk with power and expansion, were the first to break this covenant during one of their conflicts. They attacked an outlaw's home while his wife and children were there. This act crossed the final line. For the Outlaws, it was proof that the Angels were not warriors, but unprincipled jackals. From that moment, the war ceased to be a war between clubs. It became a personal vendetta for everyone, revenge for desecrated honor. That is why it is so brutal, and that is why it will never end. They betrayed the most fundamental law of the streets, and for that, there is no forgiveness. The war between the Hells Angels and the Outlaws is a scar on the body of America that hasn't healed in 50 years. It's a story of how the thirst for freedom can give birth to the most terrifying monsters. What do you think about this? Whose side are you on and why? Write in the comments. It will be interesting to read. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new crime stories. If this video gets 5,000 likes, I'll tell the story of the secret deal between the bikers and Pablo Escobar's cartel that changed the criminal world forever.